Welcome back to the Tu-Vie podcast, your TV movie entertainment needs podcast. I am your host, James, and unfortunately, everyone else is gone. They had pretty much busy week this week, so I wanted to make sure they got all the time they needed off to get whatever they had to get done. But I wanted to also come on here and give you guys the weekly episode we promised you guys. So, without further ado, let's get into it. This week, a lot happened. I think that was actually really, really fun to kind of see unfold in a singular week. First things first, I want to get out of the way. We're not going to cover the Deadpool 3 spoilers here because I'm getting tired of just how often there is a spoiler for this movie. I get that they're shooting on set, which is great. I get that they're doing practical effects, which is also great, and I like that they're doing all of this. But the fact is, it's it's killing the movie in a way. We talked about this, I think, 2, 3 episodes ago, that the more we see about this movie, I feel like the less we're going to be getting out of it. And even Ryan Reynolds came up with a second, like note. This is the kind of movie that deserves all the secrets kept very close to the chest. And I feel like the people on set who want to showcase what they're doing is great. You can showcase what you're doing, but how they're doing it isn't great. Like, I understand this project is big. It is the third and final chapter of the Deadpool series. So it's going to be pretty big to watch it. But like everything else, I think this kind of movie should be kept secret. So we're not going to cover that. I would recommend just kind of staying away from those kind of things. I understand that you're probably going to run into it because it seems like everybody and their mother wants to post about this, but we kind of want to just stay away from that here. But in other news, I want to talk about The Gentlemen's spinoff. So The Gentlemen, a movie by Guy Ritchie. We covered that a little bit in our Guy Ritchie episode, which you guys can check out now. But pretty much this is a spinoff series from that movie. I do not believe it takes place in any sort of relation of the same crew. I believe this takes place in that same world, but it's not the same crew. It's a whole different people. This TV show is going to be led by Theo James, and it's going to have similar elements of the actual movie. So if you guys haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend watching it. It is a very good movie as a whole, but I'm really glad that Guy Ritchie's being able to spin off from this movie because it was a very good movie and spin off into the show. Not much is actually really said about the show entirely. All we know is that a character named Eddie is getting his father's estate, and while he is getting all the deeds to that, he finds out that his dad has a big impact in the cannabis industry. Kind of similar to how Matthew McConaughey's character had an impact on the cannabis world with his empire, but I don't believe it's going to be any sort of relation to that. And now, while this show has been coming out, I'm super excited for it. I love the Gentleman movies, the movie as a whole, but I really have been thinking about now. I think this is the perfect time. Shane Black should come back and do a Nice Guys series. Not like call it The Nicer Guys or something like that, but literally just get Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling, same thing. If we can't get a sequel, Netflix, just give us something. I mean, heck, you're freaking bidding for the Snyderverse, I'm sure, at this point. You pretty much got all their movies on there. Maybe add this on the list. Either way, I would kill to see Shane Black come back to either do a sequel, a show, even a short film for the Nice Guys. Just give us something. In other news, we also got new posters for the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. So we got one for Aang. It looks really incredible. I'm kind of liking the elements that they're showing for the airbending technique. It looks really cool. We have one for Katara. Looks really cool. Now we're kind of seeing a little bit more of the Southern Water Tribe and the, I guess, waterbending elements as well. We also got one for Sokka, so that's really cool to get more of this character. And I think the coolest one of the bunch is the Prince Zuko poster. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Like, it's so good. I really do like, and I said this in my TikTok, when you guys can go check out now. Also, just go check out our TikTok page. But I like how with the similarity from the show to this show, the animated one to the live action one, they're having that separation of the element from the actual physical body, like it's an extension. Now I know that's like obvious, like it didn't come from the characters, but in the show, we kind of got unique angles because I know they were doing 2D animation, so they really couldn't get the full view of how they're doing it. So like when Zuko does like the extensions like that, you kind of see it go out. It looks much shorter distance, but I really do like how in this, live action series, we're getting a better look at it. And I know a lot of people are really skeptical about this show. I'm having hope. I know that the original creators for the show originally were a part of the project, but then left due to creative differences. And I'm not saying it's going to be exactly like that one movie that we just do not talk about. But the fact that also the team involved was explicitly told to not watch that movie so that they don't start comparing and get worried. I am having faith for this show. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like live action remakes, and I get that to an extent. I don't feel like everything should be done in live action, but I'm a sucker for this show, so I'm excited for that. And I really also think partially the reason why they probably left was because they probably were making the show too much like the animation, like exact one-to-one recreation. And I think what they are going to be doing is going to be condensing a lot of episodes into one episode or like a longer episode so that we don't spend so much time building upon a lot of different things like they did in the show. I don't think we're going to be taking too long with other episodes. Like I can't name ones off the top of my head that aren't important, like the Great Divide. That's a pretty big one. The Jet episode. I know that Jet is a character in this show, so I hope we don't ever rush that episode because that's kind of important. And I also hope that the theatrical elements in this show doesn't diminish the emotional elements of this show because it's gonna sound weird, but the episode where Aang finds out what happened to the air nomads and you see this broken moment of Aang and he goes into the avatar state and everything starts getting, crazy winds and everything. I think seeing that moment in live action would be really, really cool to see to kind of show that like, hey, we can do this. Trust us. I just really hope though that this show isn't a flop. I really, really hope it's good. I know that they've had some other ones like the Cowboy Bebop one. I love the anime. Just the live action show didn't have that same feeling with it. I don't know. I never really gave that full shot. So maybe I got to give it another shot. But I just know that it's not always a final answer and it's not always the correct choice. In other news, Invincible's got an update, sort of. So next week, we find when the release date is for the second part of the series. So we're getting a teaser for a release date that's probably going to have another teaser for the second half of a show. Now, look, I know that everybody's been divisive on having, I think it was maybe the animators finish out the rest of the second season, but something tells me that if they needed more time to finish out the second half of this season, because I know it's supposed to come out like January 5th, I think, that probably means we're going to be getting something pretty wild. Like, I don't know if you guys have been catching this, but in the title cards of the recent Invincible series, and I'm not going to get to that just yet, we're going to be doing a breakdown of that entire season later on when it's done. I don't know if you guys noticed, but as the title card, instead of getting that flash of blood on there that they did in the first season, it's kind of breaking into a different color scheme, a black and blue color scheme, possibly going to get a different suit at the end of the series, season, which would be really cool. For those who don't know about the black and blue suit, I know there's probably going to be some confusion where it's kind of like, oh, why? I don't want to spoil it here, but all I know is that from the last episode we saw, and we were introduced to some other characters, something tells me in this gap, there's going to be a time jump or something that at the end of it will then cause the reason for the black suit or black and blue suit. Again, I'm not going to be going into spoilers here. I really want to kind of let everybody else be surprised if you haven't read some of the comics or if you're just really new to this whole thing as a whole, or if you're just waiting for the entire season to come out and then binge it all, which is, fine. That's what I did with Monarch. And, it's not a bad idea. So we got that coming next week. So if you guys want to keep up with what's going on the weeks, go check out our TikTok, by the way. We got a lot of stuff we post pretty much daily. So keep up with what's going on. And we also kind of do some teasers for the other few upcoming episodes. We got that sentence out. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It is a new trailer for the Indiana Jones video game that was, yeah, it's going to be, I believe, Xbox exclusive. So PlayStation, you finally got a loss after having Spider-Man, God of War. You get to take a breather. Xbox gets their time in the sun. This game looks incredible. It's going to be a not a prequel game, but it's going to be taking place between Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. Indiana Jones is going to be voiced by none other than Joel Miller himself, Troy Baker. Troy Baker is huge in the voice acting world, and I like how they have him kind of sound very close to Harrison Ford, but at the same time, they also allow him to have his own identity with this character. The game looks really, really cool. It's going to be having mainly a first-person perspective, while then also switching to third person for, I believe it's like the swinging, because you can use the whip to traverse things and also, disarm people or trap people. So I like how they're kind of switching from the third to the first person, kind of like in similar in Halo, like when you do like an animation of some things, like when you get on top of a tank or, do some kind of assassination or something like that. I think it's going to be like that, but it's just more for the traversal stuff, which I'm super excited for. I don't have an Xbox yet, but I'm definitely going to be borrowing someone's for a while. Another big thing that happened this week is that we got majority of the full cast for the live action Minecraft movie. Now, I know everyone's been thinking that like, oh, what if this is actually the movie of how Minecraft was made and everything? That'd be really cool because we got one for Tetris, we got one for BlackBerry, we've gotten a lot of those. Something tells me that this isn't going to be that kind of movie because why would you have to phrase it live action if it's going to be about the making of the game, which would be in the real world? So I don't know who is playing who. I'm believing that Jason Momoa, who is kind of, I think, the lead star of this, is going to be Steve. But we have other newcomers like Kate McKinnon, Jack Black, and the most surprising one of them all, Jennifer Coolidge, who I saw an edit of whenever she says "hey" or something like that. I think it was in the White Lotus. Someone dubbed that audio with the villager audio, and it sounded very similar. So there's a great chance Jack Black could be playing that one smithing villager, that one that has like the anvil, or maybe one that has like librarians, and Jennifer Coolidge could play the witch one. I don't know. Is that even still a thing? That's what I last remember about the villagers. I haven't played Minecraft in forever. It's going to be a great cast nonetheless. Also with the cast as well is that there was also Danielle Brooks, who we saw recently from The Color Purple, and also Peacemaker. And then we also have Jermaine Clement, who you guys probably know from What We Do in the Shadows, both TV show but originally the movie. He was also that golden crab from Moana. So if that's who you recognize him as, great. He was also in Flight of the Conchords. That's kind of what I remember him as. And also to end kind of everything else up in this episode, the Oscars nominations list is going to be presented this Tuesday. Now, with every single Oscars season, we always have our Oscars episode, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. The nominations will be presented to us by none other than Zazie Beetz and Jack Quaid. I'm super excited to see who makes the nominations list. I'm praying that Oppenheimer gets special effects, even though they were practical effects. I just hope, come on. But either way, I'm super excited to see the full nominations list. We're going to be doing our Oscars predictions and then review episodes, so be sure to keep an eye out for both of those coming very, very soon. Well, that about wrap up episode 3 of season 3. Thank you guys again for watching. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to, if you're listening off Spotify, follow here. Apple Podcasts, follow there. If you're watching this and listening to this on YouTube, subscribe as well. Also, be sure to check us out on Letterboxd. That's the word I'm looking for. Letterboxd, Instagram, and TikTok. We're all on the platforms. They're all in the description below. If you guys haven't checked out our past episodes, season 3 had just started a few weeks ago, so we kicked that off with our Avatar series breakdown. So before you guys watch the live action one, be sure to check out our episode, and then if you haven't seen the show entirely, go check that out too. Thank you guys again for watching. We'll see you guys next time.